It was about 5 o'clock in the morning, and out of nowhere popped an archmage who, to test my skill, claimed he would bombard the world with powerful magic until I can cast a spell he didn't know. I had two options, either to find a suitable spell myself or to send my scouts for information on the matter. I sent my scouts, and around 4 turns later they reported a witch captured by trolls to the south of my main city. I promptly departed to rescue her, hoping she'd give me the knowledge I needed to stop the fire and ice spreading throughout the game world. To the south, defeating the 3 trolls holding her captured, she demanded 1,000 gold for the information required to stop the archmage, so I paid her and learnt of a spell stolen from her by rogues, and set off to chase down the thieves. This was a typical random quest in Warlock 2, a game that's just as much RPG as it is strategy. Picking from one of the game's 14 characters, each with their own race of armies, Warlock 2 offers both campaigns, which I have not tested since there's none in the build that I played, and skirmishes, which can either be played in Exiled mode or in Sandbox mode, along 5 different objective criteria ranging from defeating the other enemy mages to capturing all the holy sites. Each mage can be customised to an extent, changing their names and base attributes, offering buff for certain things such as plus research and plus production and things like that, including advanced spells allowing you to skip a step or 2 from the spell research tree. Since I'm such a nice guy, here's an image of all of the attributes that you can alter. The artwork in Warlock 2 is wonderful, with classically drawn images oozing with original creativity sprawled all over a 3D plane. Warlock 2 isn't the most graphically advanced game in the world, but its intimacy and scale, along with a variety of army races, make for a diverse and attractive visual experience. It's a smaller game than some of the other hex-based conquest games, and in a few places it shows its budget, primarily in the voice acting, but what it lacks in graphical prowess it makes up for in good writing and depth spread among the quests and the various army types. Unlike other games in the genre, Warlock 2 is set on a sort of hub world, which are bridged together through portals scattered across the world. For lack of a better comparison, it's similar to Sins of a Solar Empire in that each hub world as you explore can either lead to more worlds or a dead end, or resources and things of that nature.
We have to kill you by his order, but we are tired. We know.
You'll need to manage your armies and cities across multiple hub worlds, defending them all without running out of resources, food and money. Warlock 2 features more random battles than I've ever encountered in other Hex games, thanks in part to the magical abilities of the world's NPC creatures, who can spawn at any moment. Even world bosses such as a giant worm or various giant turtles can come out of nowhere and start attacking your cities. This isn't an annoyance though, because these fights serve as good XP fodder for your units, and so long as you ensure you have a healing ability researched, you can quickly recoup their numbers. As you would expect, cities grow as they're developed, and Warlock 2 features the standard requisite design trees to follow when planning your cities. You have limited space building on the tiles around your city, so you should plan your city's direction rather than building randomly, since you may need to plonk down 3 requisite buildings to get the one you want. Buildings can unlock abilities and units for production, including units that don't belong to your race, if you've captured the city from another player or NPC player. Interestingly, and this is something that lends itself well to the hub world nature of the game, you can also raise an entire city to the ground or convert it to a shrine for one of the game's gods. This essentially takes the city out of commission, and instead of another pesky city to manage, it'll generate 1 currency for you, including mana. Mana is required to select some of the options for quests and also cast spells onto the hex map, which can either damage enemy units, replenish the land, buff, debuff, or heal units, and that sort of thing. Like most aspects of Warlock 2, unlocking new spells is simple and intuitive. You simply click on the spell you want to research and wait the required number of turns to unlock it. You can charge spells for casting at the same time as researching new ones, but some spells cast instantly. It seems that each mage borrows from the same library of spells, but you really have to spec to adapt to what's going on around you, especially if you plan on creating cities on otherworld hubs. Since some spells can even replenish the ground to a nice grassy meadow. This spell can be used to undo effects that alter the tile, which might affect movement. When it comes to combat, whilst each mage has his or own army by race, most units kind of do the same job, but some are weaker than others at certain things. I found I got a lot better as Excaliborn when I wanted to focus on melee damage than I did the undead, but I'm unsure if this is balanced differently or if it just felt different. Your army's strength can also be increased with hero units who can wear magical items to increase their strength. These hero units are incredibly powerful, especially the casters doing upwards of 25 damage a time, where your base armies are doing anything from 1 to 7. It can be a chore moving them hub to hub though, so careful planning on where to go is a must. Warlock 2 ultimately addicted me like so many hex-based games do, and although games feel relatively short on the normal size maps, you can sink at least 6 to 7 hours in a single sitting without even getting a sense that time is passing. It might be relatively more simple than other hex-based games, but I get the feeling Warlock 2 focuses more on the combat strategy and RPG mechanics than it does resource management and city building, illustrated by the various ways you can annex a city and still get some use out of it without having to manage it. There's no end to the cleverly designed NPC quests in Warlock 2, and that sort of makes each sandbox or skirmish experience feel like a new campaign each time, a real throwback to text adventures in certain places. It's immensely enjoyable to read all of the different options for quests and to gauge their percent chances of success, and dealing with the consequences of your decision making is a huge part of Warlock 2. It might not be anything strictly new, but it's a careful mix of quest-based adventuring, hub-world strategy and spellcasting with powerful heroes, and it makes it well worth your time. And if you're not really accustomed to hex-based fantasy games, this is certainly a good one to start with. It's incredibly intuitive despite the lengthy tutorial tooltips, but it offers a challenge even on the most easiest difficulty settings.